Welcome into another edition of Sports Junkies, talking Bucks basketball, because that's what we do. I'm Steve Sparky, Fifer from 105.7 FM, The Fan.
That sounds like a song I recently heard, but anyways.
He's Gery Woelfel of the Racine Journal-Times. Let's talk a little bit about the what-if game for this Bucks team. Yes, they lose Game 3, and now Game 4 is coming up Saturday at 4:30. But Gery, what if this Bucks team would have played the Toronto Raptors? Could they have won that series?
Well, we talked about this maybe about 2-3 weeks ago. I said, you know, if the Bucks play the Raptors, I think I predicted on this show or on the big show that they would beat the Raptors. Yeah. You know, that's why it was so important to me to match up against them as opposed to playing to a veteran-laden team
like Chicago,
Bucks,
right?
You know, so and you can go right down the line. You extract Cleveland, and if you extract the Bulls.
That's it.
I think the Bucks could beat any other team in the
That includes Atlanta.
Absolutely.
Who's the one? They could have beat Atlanta.
Oh,
if they would have been the 8, and I'm glad they weren't, but if they would have been the 8, I think they could have taken Atlanta to 7, if not won it.
I totally concur. And it's not that the Bucks are a great team, but what the Bucks have right now is incredible chemistry
and
again,
defensive
which
intensity.
They lost after the trade, but they have regained it again, and their defensive intensity. I did a story the other day in which I interviewed Greg Popovich, the Spurs coach, and I asked him about the Bucks defense. And the one thing that's obvious to anybody that follows the Bucks is they do a lot of trapping, a lot of double teaming,
right,
a lot of switching, okay? And I asked Popovich, I said, what other team doubles as much as the Bucks, right? And he goes, SMU.
Larry Brown.
A college team.
Yeah.
And in a lot of respects, the Bucks are playing a college-type defense. They got young players that are willing to do this. Whether they can do this long-term, I'm not so sure, because eventually it's going to wear guys down, and they're going to start complaining, hey, we're putting up too much effort into this situation. But
if they win, they won't complain.
True.
As long as you're winning, we'll do whatever you want.
That's the carrot, correct.
Right.
And they have to, because their offense is one of the worst in the league.
Right.
So, you know, having exceptional defense is, without a doubt, their calling card.
What about the Washington Wizards? See, that team there, I figured they were going to beat the Raptors in that series. I'm not really all that shocked, because I think Toronto and Atlanta are fakes. But if it's Washington and Atlanta now, in that next round, I think the Wizards can get them.
Yeah, I mean, John Wall's the X factor. If John Wall plays at a high level that he's capable of playing at, I'm taking the Wizards. But if he doesn't, that's the thing about Wall. He's been a little inconsistent, you know. He's extremely talented. Plus, I like Washington's front line. It's a veteran line. We talk about the Bulls' front line. Washington has a lot of good veterans, too. Not as well as Chicago's. But I totally agree. You take away Cleveland and Chicago, this was an opportunity for the Bucks to make some noise.
I'm going to add another what if, because this is the what if Bucks video. Yeah. What if Jabari Parker was healthy and playing? Do they win a game or two in this series?
I don't know. It's hard to project that.
Because he's that guy. At the end of regulation, he would have been the guy with the ball. At the end of overtime, he would have been the guy with the ball.
Maybe. Although you have to give Chris Middleton a ton of credit. In regulation, I thought that game was over with, 2-3 minutes to go.
He helped him, no question.
They were down by, 7 points, and everybody was ready to go home, and all of a sudden Chris Middleton, comes live and hits two big shots. So you don't know if the Bucks would have went to Parker or not at this stage. But I'll tell you what, the guys that have played for him have done a pretty good job. So, I mean, but Parker's an exception.
Because you talk about how bad their offense is. I mean, you put Jabari back in here, and if Jabari does what everybody thinks he can do offensively, that offense becomes better immediately. Because now you have to pay attention to him on the other side of the floor. Right now, there really isn't a play where defenses get
absolutely.
There's not that guy. No. Parker can be that guy. Giannis can be that guy if he develops that jumper.
I find it's hard to believe that I would say this, but I'm not sure if the Bucks have one player that can beat anybody off the dribble on a consistent basis. And in the NBA, that's absurd. Every team has one of those guys, or maybe two of those guys, right? But I really don't know who the Bucks have. Even Middleton, he's not a guy that can beat you off the dribble.
Well, not at the two. But I think Michael Carter-Williams is probably the closest, if anybody.
But there's a guy that doesn't finish with his shot. I mean, he had a couple times where he beat guys off the dribble last night, but couldn't finish. But guys that can beat you off the dribble and complete the play. The Bucks need one of those, and maybe it's Parker.
He is Gery Woelfel of the Racine Journal-Times. I'm Steve Sparky. Fifer, thanks for tuning in to another Sports Junkies video here at RacineSportsZone.com.